Hi, I'm Matt Davies, the Managing Director of Empire Global Finance. So today we have a really special guest, David Bell, founder of PCD Group. David, lovely. Thank you for giving up your time to do a podcast with myself. Really appreciate it. I know you're super busy, David, so honestly, it's really
pleasure. Great to be with you
here. So we're over in Dubai. We'd just like to sort of understand a little bit more about David, what makes him tick,
okay.
How the business has evolved from what it was, and so on and so forth. So I'll start from the beginning, if I may.
Yeah.
So what made you start PCD?
Well, I was working, when I first moved to London, I was training as an accountant, and
Sure.
I set up events for young professionals to come together and network. I always loved events, putting good people together.
Yeah.
And then as I built my career, I then started working in banking. I carried on doing events, putting people together. We went for like a dinner format because people in networking events would often be coming to a reception, they're leaving at a certain time to go home and, you know, have their dinner basically.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if you can incorporate that into your event, you get something higher quality.
Yeah.
People can sit down, they can exchange ideas, and that idea really kind of took off. So I carried on that as a hobby, and my wife says it's a hobby that got out of control. So by 2014 I was working for a Swiss bank. I was going to Geneva a lot, to Zurich and elsewhere, and I thought I want to take this dinner format and take it into new places. And realize that actually if you do that, you can open up new locations for professionals based in London and elsewhere.
Sure.
And people kind of got on board with it because it was different to conferences or the events on the scene. It was consistent, it was high quality, and we just built it out from there. So then in 2016 I basically left my job and decided to try and build PCD up full time, and we've not looked back really.
No, it's been wonderful watching the business grow, David, and particularly yourself. So where was the very first event that you did then? Putting on the spot a bit there.
Yeah,
sorry.
no, that's fine. The very first event that I remember, there's various people who come up to me at different points saying, I was there at the first one.
Right.
Now, how you define what the first one was, I'm not sure. But the first one that I remember was getting 50 people together above a pub in Farringdon with a set menu. We paid nothing in advance. We'd agreed with the venue, look, we'll pay covers, pay on the night, and people filed past the till and paid their £50 or whatever it was for the 3 set course menu. And that was the start of it really, where I thought, there's something in this, but that was back in like 2008-9.
Okay,
it was a long time. It took a long time to kind of take off as a business. It was something that I saw that it supplemented my job in a way because I wanted to network for that. It took me a while to flip that actually into thinking about the events as a business, you know?
Yeah, of course, And when did it actually sort of really take
Well, we incorporated in 2014. So it was the formal start of PCD was in 2014. I was still working for a bank at that point. But then by 2016, essentially, we'd done events in different locations. We kind of started to really take off. And people were approaching me to organise events because I kind of had done it with a bit of pizzazz. And it was at a time when I was looking to make a change from banking anyway and looking at exploring other opportunities, and I thought, well, this is a good time. I've already got a business model, I've already got some customers. So why not take the leap and make it your, you know, more of your full thing. You know, and branch out really and go full time with it. So really the proper start was 2014, but 2016 was when I left the employed world and became self-employed, which is a real, I mean, it's a real thing, you know. And in those early days, I manned the tickets email address.
It was you doing everything.
Yeah, it was me doing everything. And we've evolved that now. We've got a team of 8 down in Brighton. I run the business with my wife Sophie, and we're the directors on the company, and we're still very lean and a small business, but we pack a lot of punch. We do a lot with what we do.
You know, obviously the business has got a remarkable reputation globally now. I think, you know, everybody I seem to speak to, you know, again, this morning we're at an event, you're going to PCD. You know, these are people I've never met before, or you're going to PCD, and it's just like, blimey. It's really packing a punch now. So real credit to you Thank you for doing that. And I think certainly, you know, some events can be quite stuffy, can't they? You can go to them, there's no real concept. But I think what I found really refreshing with you come up to people and say, Matt, come and have a chat with such a, and you know, it really does break the ice. You know, and it's, oh, why, you know, he does this, and I think it'd be nice for you to have a chat. So that
most events
really well.
are a letdown, you know, it's the reality. And part of that disappointment is you arrive as a delegate without any sense of how to navigate the event. You know, like we make sure that when people come to our events, they've had a guest list in advance. They can message me and say, oh, I'd love to meet XYZ. Now, we make best efforts to actually make that happen. So outside the sponsors, even for people just buying a ticket, regular members, you know, we're aiming to accommodate and making sure that people get value, because so often events can be geared perhaps to the headline sponsor or someone who's paying the largest check, whereas actually, to me, all customers are important. Our members is a community that we grow, and if people aren't happy, they're paying money, they're giving up an evening, they need to walk away from that evening feeling like, I've not met everyone I wanted, but I've met some good people. I've learned something. I've moved my business forward. So we're trying to just improve what we do all the time to make that guest experience as good as it can possibly be.
And how have you seen the business evolve then from the early days to where you are now?
I mean, back in sort of 2016 to 2019, the way we saw growth was by adding new locations. And that took me all around the world, which has been fun. You know, like we went everywhere. We did an event in Shanghai, we did Nairobi, we've done going to North America for the first time. It was hugely exciting. And the way we saw growth was adding new locations to try and build out the map. But we only saw growth through live events. We couldn't see any other path, you know, to grow the business. But that's only so scalable in a sense of, if I'm going out to host as the model, well, you can only travel around. There's a limit to that.
What you can do.
But when obviously the pandemic came along, it was a huge shock to us. We flipped around and basically started doing webinars, and that led us into the content world. So that led us towards more like interviews. It wasn't something I was doing before at all, or even hosting panels and moderating was not something I was doing at all. And so doing 3 webinars a week gave us the preparation to come out the other side, to then moderate panels, to do interviews like this. So now the media side of the business, and PCD Media, which is our kind of spin-off offering, within that is a core to growth, because private client professionals in general want to be making more video. They don't necessarily have a mechanism to do that. And also, when anyone spends money on video, they're thinking about the distribution. So who can I reach with this content? And we can help solve some of that. So I see huge potential now in terms of the media and content side, on top of really good live events.
So in terms of the media part of the business then, David, how does that work then? So you sort of do like an analysis of somebody's business, you discuss a brief, tell me a bit about that.
So it can go across the levels. I mean, on a simple level, we can be a content provider. So someone can come to us with a simple project like, we want to make 3 case studies to outline different scenarios in our business to generate leads and inquiries.
And these can be any types of businesses in the private client space.
Exactly. That's where we add most value, is within those dealing with high net worths. And by laying out these scenarios, so that doesn't require a full drains up, like, you know, rebrand and marketing analysis. That's like, right, okay, let's get to 3 scenarios, pick a date, editing, you know, you can package that in a sensible fixed price kind of way that gives people content for their blogs, their socials. We also share it, so that's quite a nice off-the-shelf product. There are more drains up kind of type offerings where if someone says really what we need is a fundamental review of the business, does the website look right? Are we getting enough out of LinkedIn? And then that's before you kind of layer content on top, because if you don't have the right website and you don't have any presence on social media, material presence, there's no point in producing 3 really good case studies if you've got nowhere to share it. So ultimately, we can go from like light through to, you know, the kitchen sink. But at the moment, we're just really, you know, we're really exploring what we can do. People like the look of the case studies. It's quite simple. It's quite visual. But also, we're seeing other opportunities. Like recently with Locate Guernsey, we went down and covered their trade show. I was there with a PCD covered microphone, doing Vox Pops. You know, with Chris and the team, and we did a live stream from there. But we also did set piece interviews with high net worth relocators to move to Guernsey to tell their story, and also intermediary. So that's a whole new area where Locate had their own event going on, but they wanted us to come and cover the event and give it more pop and promotion. So I think, again, if companies are hosting events, it's an expensive business. And if you're already spending 20 grand, well, why not spend 25 but get some really good video assets
of it,
and have people talking about it for a longer period of time. So that I think is an interesting angle, in that then at that point we're not having to just make our own events. We can cover events of other people and make an impact in a way that they wouldn't normally have achieved even if they just booked a cameraman. It's a different offering.
Definitely. No, I think that's really good advice, that
But there's so many different ways you can take that business. It's about kind of staying focused on the core and where we add value, because there's a lot of agencies out there. So we don't want to get in the mix competing with any old agency. But we want to say we're a specialist business in the wealth sector.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think in terms of video creation now, you know, I guess looking at different age demographics, everybody likes to consume video, whether that's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. There's a real place for it now, isn't there? And I think more and more businesses are seeing those opportunities and thinking we need to be at the forefront of those.
Well, LinkedIn and YouTube work very well together because, you know, LinkedIn is the primary venue for business networking, and in many ways even broader social networking, because the credibility and accountability of those on the platform, it's serious people on there and not mudslinging, you know, people who are actually just generally positive and supportive in the main, isn't it? It's a constructive environment. Obviously, you can't watch full-length stuff on there, so we use it as a way to catch people's eye, but then to build a YouTube following is also important, because that is a B2C channel as well. So you want stuff where your B2B contacts can find it, but also your B2C contacts might discover it. And in this world of AI and all of that, how people get found on Google is going to really rely in the long run on the rich content that you have on YouTube, on these different platforms, because people, obviously naturally high net worth clients, search firms. If you're going to meet someone, what's the first thing you do?
Well, you have a look around, don't you?
And so if you've got no content footprint, you're much less credible than someone who has a nice backstory, and you can't make that content overnight. You've got to layer it up.
Exactly.
We've had success with a variety of companies over the years. In the live events sector, we have been working this year a lot with Mark Brooks, who is a schools consultant who deals with wealthy families sending children to boarding school in the UK and Switzerland. And what we found was that the education sector doesn't tend to talk very well or very much to the traditional private wealth sector, i.e. the private banks, the law firms, the tax firms, even though that their underlying clients are very similar, and actually if you work out what clients are actually interested in, they're more interested in where their kids go to school and what they will get from that than actually their latest tax scheme or anything like that. So there's huge value to be gained through that collaboration, and Mark has found that he's got instant business out of basically talking on the microphone, describing what he does, and he's solved problems kind of there and then, but also afterwards he's really found that it's forged new relationships. We've also worked with partners like EER, who are sponsoring tomorrow night, over many years. And what that, because often it does take time for referrals to filter through. They understand the value of relationships, so they're a business that's based here in Dubai but often gets referrals from professionals in London. So it's a great fit for us because we can make introductions to them from London. They've sponsored events over there. We use those events to generate introductions and meetings, or if the directors come over to London, I can make introductions for them. So it's a joined up service, but they have seen both sides of the coin. So we've worked with some great companies over the years, fostering relationships, helping them build, understanding them and driving them forward.
No, that's good. Thanks for that, David. I think something that we found really beneficial was meeting different people globally. So I think we've been coming to your events 5-6
years now.
I won't mention any names, but we were introduced to a bank over in Guernsey. So we went to your Jersey event 5-6 years ago, got chatting to a lovely lady over there. She was a private banker, and we'd got a particular problem for a client. Well, this lady said, do you know what, I think we've done something very similar. Let's have a look at it. So we set up a phone call, provided some information to her. A week later, she came back and said, look, we quite like this. And that deal was a really big deal for us, and it made us a significant amount of money. So, you know, from my point personally, I think, you know, it's been fantastic.
Well, we've got a loyal and repeat customer base, and people don't spend money and give up time just for a laugh.
Absolutely.
There's better ways to spend an evening. If it's not delivering business, people wouldn't come.
You've got to get something
so,
from it, haven't you?
You know, but we've always had a broad philosophy where we try and charge, you know, a fair fixed fee, whether it's for membership, a ticket, sponsorship, and hope that people are successful, because successful people come back for more. So we're pleased when we hear about people's success, and we wish everyone who comes to PCD like the best of luck in building their business, and it takes time to do so.
It does. You know, I think particularly with some types of clients that you know, in the private banking world and the high net worth space, it takes time to trust the advisors and other
for the right case to come on the desk. So it's not something where you've got a buyer straight away. You're not selling a simple product off the shelf that someone says, well, are you buying or not? It takes time, doesn't it?
It does, as you say. And you know, you could have a particular bank, you know, for example, who we deal with on a regular basis, and there could be different characters within those banks, and you think that person would fit lovely with them, but it wouldn't perhaps quite fit with the character there. So it's great to have these events and meet such wonderful characters, really. So yeah, great.